Pantomime season has started early this year. Welcome to another episode of Oh Yes You Did, Oh No We Didn't, Oh Yes You Did with Colchester Council. But before we get going into the nitty-gritty of the response that Karina has received regarding her complaint about Councillor King, the leader of Colchester Council, with regards to his misleading the council and members of the public, claiming that 5G was perfectly safe and has been thoroughly tested when it actually hasn't. And this was after Karina had sent him all of the evidence of not only the fact that proper safety tests haven't been done, but also the names of companies which have been dissolved have been used on the safety declarations. So for those good councillors and officers out there who aren't anything like the ones that we seem to be repeatedly featuring in our Council Watch videos, we have something that's going to really help you. So stay tuned and I will tell you at the end of the video. But before we get to the good part, we've got to once again clear up the bad stuff. So let's now go through the response Karina has had to her complaint. So whilst there is absolutely no surprise in the outcome of the complaint against Councillor King, there were a few surprises within the response. The response is from Andrew Weavers, who is the Head of Governance and Monitoring Officer. Along with his independent person, which is usually someone borrowed from another council, they have decided that it warrants no further action. And the reasons for that are: the pertinent point is whether, as alleged, Councillor King made statements in relation to safety information relating to 5G that were unacceptable and irresponsible. The key here is that Councillor King provided an oral response to a question for which he had no time to prepare and gave the best answer he could at the time. Now, Mr. Weavers, is it not the case that the council very recently has changed the procedures to have your say, so that all questions must go in ahead of time so that the councillors do have time to prepare? Now, whilst Karina didn't give you an overt question about 5G, because let's face it, you wouldn't have let her foot in the door if she had, it was still clear enough that Councillor King himself said that he had reviewed the emails because he knew Karina wanted to talk about it. Let's play that clip for you.
Right, thank you, Karina. We have had a number of exchanges. Given I understood you wanted to chase them up, I had a look back and I could see a string from myself alone, and you referred to others. So let's try and strike a balance on this in response.
So clearly you saying he didn't have time to prepare is not true. Or him saying he prepared is not true. Which one is it? Because they both can't be true now, can they? There is no question that Councillor King lied or any intention to deceive, as he gave his interpretation of the situation as he truly understood it at that point in time, but accepts that he may not have provided the nuances that you were looking for. This isn't nuances. This is him saying something is safe when he's been provided categoric evidence it's not safe. That is what this is, Mr. Weavers. So had he indeed read as thoroughly as he purported he did, in Karina's very first email to him, she said, "Have you read the ICNIRP guidelines? Nowhere does it say EMF radiation is safe, but that it is unlikely to cause harm. These guidelines do not cover anyone with metal in their body." She then went on to give him a whole load of links about how devices such as pacemakers are affected, hearing aids, the published medical study from oncologist Lennart Hardell on the harms caused by 5G exposure. During the course of their communications, she sent him something from Swisscom, who are a telecommunications company. And in that report, they say the risk of damage to health through electrosmog has also become better understood as a result of more recent and improved studies. When, for example, human blood cells are irradiated with electromagnetic fields, clear damage to hereditary material has been demonstrated, and there have been indications of an increased cancer risk. So this is a patent that Swisscom have put, and you can see it on Google Patents, and it's to do with the reduction of electrosmog in wireless local networks. Because they have invented a method and system for reduction of electrosmog in wireless local networks, one or more mobile networks communicating with a base station. So the telecommunications company are acknowledging the harms caused by electrosmog. So please tell us, Mr. Weavers, how can someone who has said that they have read through all this information turn round to tell the public and the council that it is safe, when clearly it isn't? Please explain that. So this is unacceptable and irresponsible, and this needs to be put right at the next council meeting. No nuances here. He needs to retract what he said. Because as Karina put in her complaint, he made false and misleading statements regarding the safety of 5G. Now, if you and he are going to insist he didn't, then please get it in writing from ICNIRP using the word safe. Get it from Ofcom using the word safe in writing. And who else did he quote? Oh yes, and the World Health Organization. Again, get it in writing with them using the word safe.
I've spent some time on this. I know other members have. I've looked at, in my layway, at the evidence positions published by government and Ofcom, the World Health Organization, ICNIRP, with their responsibilities for 5G and its health effects. They all say 5G, like earlier mobile standards, is safe for the public on the evidence as published and tested rigorously internationally. That's the position that we responsibly should take.
There have been 39,000 studies done on the effects of EMFs. It is shown to lead to mitochondrial DNA damage and induce oxidative stress. And as we said in the last video, how many really safe things do you know that need a 50-metre exclusion zone? It clearly isn't safe. And it is grossly misleading to say that it is. And then we get to this next part. So rather than take the application number that Karina put in her very first email to Councillor King, which Andrew Weavers has access to, no, he's gone off his own back and pulled out two completely different applications to look at. I do apologise to regular viewers. I know in the last video I said it was the last time I was going to go through it. I was wrong. I need to go through it one more time for Mr. Weavers. I sincerely hope this is genuinely the last time I have to go through this in a video. Right, where's the planning portal? Crying out loud. Planning portal from hell. So, Mr. Weavers, here's the example you and Councillor King were given and that we've used in every single video. 232030. Decision issued. So, you've approved this. Approved conditional. The Declaration of Conformity. Let's view the documents for the 100th time. Oh look, it's 3 UK Limited. Still no signature, completely invalid. Anyway, in conclusion, Colchester City Council has not approved any 5G telecommunications applications involving bogus or fraudulent 5G mast certifications. Yes, you have. You have. Mr. Weavers. You do know that we have access to the planning portal as well, don't you? Yes? So it's very easy for us to see what you have written is complete and utter balderdash. Just in case that one wasn't enough, let me show you some more. Now, this is by no means definitive. Here's just a few. A very quick search discovered. Right, let's pop this one into the planning portal. Prior approval required, and then in brackets, approved. Few documents. ICNIRP certificate. 3 UK Limited. Ooh, this is interesting. Not seen that before. The design declaration must not be included. Only the front page of the certificate should be used. Drawings used to assess ICNIRP compliance must not be released to third parties unless with the agreement of NBNL. Ooh. I wonder why they wouldn't want us to see it. Anyway, I digress. Here's another one. Prior approval required, and it has been approved. That's the decision. Let's look at the documents. ICNIRP declaration. Oh look, 3 UK Limited. Should we do one more just for luck? Oh, let's. Prior approval required, decision approved. Few documents. Oh look, 3 UK Limited. Oh, at least someone actually signed this one. But they blocked it out so you can't see it. That's very, very helpful. So you're beginning to see a bit of a pattern here, Mr. Weavers. Is that sufficient or should we carry on? Oh, what the hell, let's carry on. Let's find a few more, shall we? Prior approval required, and it has been approved. Few documents. Oh, certificate. Oh, it's 3 UK Limited again. Shocker. No actual signature. Also a shocker. They are saying that these applications have erroneously been put under the name of 3 UK Limited instead of 3, the trading name. But as we covered in the previous video, Ofcom are very particular about who they have on their list of those able to self-certificate. And as I've showed you in the last video, 3 is not on the list. In case you're unaware, Ofcom requires a bond in place of every operator of £250,000 to make sure there's enough to cover liability should something go wrong when they install these poles everywhere. Ofcom also have a registration fee of £10,000 to get on this list, and then every year it's £1,000. Now, is it really likely they're going to be okay with companies that aren't on the list, whether it's a trading name or not, to be issuing these certificates? Do you think that's likely? Well, regardless of what you think, please write to Ofcom, as requested in the last video, and find out if they're happy for them to have a trading name on that certificate. But there is a small shaft of sunlight at the end of this very dark tale of torture. Even though they are still claiming they've done nothing wrong, they have conceded the Council has changed its processes to ensure that it does not validate any applications where the applicant is stated to be 3 UK Limited and that the applicant is a bona fide company. I hope this clarifies the Council's position. So thank you. I'm going to interrupt myself here. I'm just doing the final edit where I actually say thank you, and it shouldn't have taken 9 months. They haven't. I've got nothing to thank them for, because all they're agreeing to is not to validate any applications where the applicant is 3. That's not what we're questioning. It's not the applicant that has been put 3, it has been the safety certificates. So still, they are not acknowledging the problem. Your ability to handle the truth of this situation is rather non-existent, especially when one considers the public pay your wages. You are here to serve the public, and you are not doing a good job of it. And you do need to put this right. They plan to put 5G absolutely everywhere. So this is going to affect you and your families just as much as it is ours. Now, just in case you didn't get the most important part of the last 5G fraud video I did, it featured the work of Victor Leach, who has done testing on various telecommunications signals, and what he has discovered is the industry tests just a pure wave, and when he and his team tested an actual signal, i.e. it's got the data set within that wave, they found it caused damage 69% of the time. So for a moment, if we imagine it's an actual wave of water, it'd be like comparing an empty wave of water to one filled with shards of glass. You'd get very different results on the level of harm caused, wouldn't you? Now, that's obviously not a scientifically accurate analogy, but it gives you the sense of the difference. So just think about that. It causes damage 69% of the time when it's a real signal. And those tests are done over a specific amount of time. No one has done a lifetime exposure level test because 5G is new technology. And if you can download an entire HD movie in 10 seconds as opposed to 10 minutes, that's a hell of a lot of data that's going to be transported. And also, the beams are very different. They are collimated beams, so more like darts of data coming at us. And no one knows what the long-term effects of that will be. And if 5G gets rolled out everywhere, as is the plan, people will be exposed to this 24/7 with no escape. And that includes you. So at the next full council, we fully expect Councillor King to evidence his claims of safety from ICNIRP, the World Health Organization, and Ofcom. We want to see in writing them using the word safe. If he cannot do that, he needs to retract what he said so that the public record is set straight. So we did a little experiment to see if it was just the Lib Dems that didn't seem bothered by these fraudulent certificates. We invited the leaders of the green, blue and red teams to give their response. We asked them a very simple question. Did they support the Lib Dems' acceptance of safety certificates using the names of dissolved companies, or did they support the public's view that these certificates should have the names of active companies only? Paul Dundas from the Conservatives emailed back to say he'd discuss it with his group, as did Councillor Mark Gocher from the Green team. Councillor Julie Young did not respond at all, and I know she's received the email because I got an autoresponder. This was the perfect opportunity for all the other parties to align with the public and show that they are true public servants. Did they take that opportunity? No, they didn't. Not one of them will answer the question. Just in case the dodgy emails have played a part, I tagged them all again on Twitter, and certainly Councillor Dundas and Gocher are very active on Twitter. Still, Nothing. No response whatsoever. So if this doesn't show us we need to replace the entire council, I don't know what does. Unfortunately, we cannot do so until 2026. So if you know anybody you think would make a good councillor, please persuade them to do so and get in touch with us so that we can create a party of independence. So I really hope that the good councillors quit their political parties and become independents, because it's very clear these political groups are not serving the public interest. And if it wasn't their political parties that persuaded them to stay quiet on this matter, perhaps it was the council. I don't know quite what you're expecting to achieve by that. It's not like we don't fully understand the ramifications. We are advised by some of the most knowledgeable people in the country on 5G and the law. Let me read you some of what our advisors have told us. Right, if the ICNIRP certificate is dodgy, its status is undermined, so much that the application should be deemed invalid. Planning decisions undeniably are required to be evidence-based. That's why planners have to spend 4 years at planning school working out what are and what are not material planning considerations. No right-minded council will deny that they are obliged to make evidence-based decisions and would be castigated in court if they did. Back in 2019, Karen and I got an assurance from the lawyers representing the Department of Health that objector evidence on the adverse public health consequences of mast sighting had to be taken into account as legitimate evidence. That wouldn't have been the case if 1. Councils didn't need to make evidence-based decisions, and 2. ICNIRP certificates issued by applicants were conclusive evidence of safety. Dodgy ICNIRP certificates can be challenged as invalidating the application, and their inadequacy as conclusive proof of safety can be challenged simultaneously by objectors proving that 5G health risks are real and imminent. These fraudulent certificates have been used up and down the country. It's not just in Colchester, it's everywhere, and councils are trying to brush it under the carpet like it's no big deal. Clearly it is a big deal, because all of the applications that have these fraudulent certificates in them are basically null and void. So if members of the public want to challenge any mask, it doesn't matter whether it's 5G or not, they can do so. And this isn't a little administrative error. It's come to light from Ian Jarvis and his team that the name 3UK Limited was being put on these certificates when the company belonged to someone else that had nothing to do with telecommunications. So this poor man has had his company name put on certificates so he could be liable should any claims for harm. Is that something honest and honourable companies would do? And you trust them with our health and safety? Now, on Sunday evening, when I was studying planning law, yet again, so that I could do this video accurately, it occurred to me, why on earth am I learning planning law? I don't work at the council. The people that need to know this are the councillors and the officers. So I got in touch with the experts that advised me, so I asked them whether they would be willing to put on a free training course for any councillors or council officers who are as concerned as we are about these, and teach them what they know. And they both said yes. So even though those that are running the council are doing their best to remain as ignorant as possible, we know there's good people in Colchester Council. We know there's good people in many councils throughout the country. And we know we cannot rely on the actual council to give you the training you need. So by running these unofficial training, you will get that education you need. Neil and Karen are both very experienced with dealing with planning law and challenging 5G applications. And they are super strict on following the law to the letter. They don't do any outlandish, wild claims that they cannot back up. They go purely with what they can do legally, and they understand planning law. So these are not a couple of cranks that we found sitting on a double-decker bus all on their own in the middle of the night, rocking backwards and forwards, talking to themselves. No, they're actual proper experts. Neil has more qualifications than I have the time to read out, but to give you a summary, he qualified with an honours degree in urban and regional planning in 1979, which includes a course in planning law conducted by a barrister practising in planning law. He's also worked in the NHS, which required him to study and use the application of multiple types of law. He's also provided short-term consultancy support for Vodafone engineers on mast planning and contract renewal conditions for 3G rollout. He's provided advice and support via the Legal Services Commission, and he's been working in tandem with Karen Churchill, who's been campaigning for our right to protect ourselves from the imposition of wireless technology for 5 years. She and a team secured the precautionary principle in Frome in 2019, achieved a breakthrough in the government's narrative that councils cannot refuse a 5G mast on health grounds, and health grounds amend it in 2022. She has exposed Bath Council's failed early commitment to no 5G in Bath. Karen was one of the 3 claimants in the Action Against 5G case led by Michael Mansfield, and is now a co-litigant in person with Neil, calling the government to account from another angle regarding their failure to secure adequate risk assessments. Now, we don't have a definitive date for this training. A lot of it will depend on the court case they are currently going through. But if you send them an email, the link for that will be in the description below, then they can give you the details once they know how that court case is going, and hopefully be able to tell you all about it during the training, because they can use it as a case study. So this training will be for councillors and council officers, but maybe at a later date they'll be able to do some training so that members of the public can learn how to challenge their local authority. And certainly another friend of Council Watch, Ian Jarvis, he does talks on that all the time and is happy to travel anywhere in the country and also do Zoom calls. So we've got lots of avenues, but first off, let's get the training to the people that need it and the people that can utilise it, and bypass all of those that have got their head in the sand. So knowledge is power, and Karen and Neil have a great deal of knowledge to share with you. Neil and Karen work tirelessly on our behalves, fighting the battle for 5G, and it's at their own expense. So if you could help donate, there are huge admin fees for doing legal battles like this. So if you are able to, please donate to help them continue this vital work. I'll put a link in the description below this video. And if these talks are successful and councillors and council officers like them, then we can do more on other subjects. We have experts like Paul Burgess that can give you the background information and the real data on solar and wind farms and so much more. I'm really getting rather fed up with making videos like this, so I'm going to pass them over to other members of the Council Watch team who will deliver their disdain with a lot more energy than I can muster. In fact, they will probably make me look like a complete amateur. And then that frees up my time to do more of the educational and more empowering types of videos. And we've got some very interesting videos in the pipeline. So until next time, take care.